It is the timeless, gluttonous, layered, hip, and, oh by the way, hot capital of Italy. Just when you thought you saw it all, there's something new to discover. And walking from site to site is a breeze, as things are often closer than you think. While it can be packed tight with tourists year-round, there are accessible places where you can avoid the crowds. Now join me as we check out the highlights of the eternal city of Rome, Italy. Our first stop is the centrally located Spanish Steps. Climb the 135 steps created in the 18th century for wonderful views of the old city. Head north at the top of the steps to Villa Borghese, an English-style landscape garden with even better views and some well-deserved peace and quiet. Below the Villa Borghese overlook is Piazza del Popolo, the People's Plaza. It is a nice square centered by an Egyptian obelisk of Ramses II. To the north is the still-standing gate of the old city. Many excursions begin and end here, including our trip to Pompeii, which will be in an upcoming video. Across the river in the west side of town lies the peddler-packed Vatican City. Muscle your way through hordes of tourists and wait in line for such sights as St. Peter's Basilica, the largest in the world, the Sistine Chapel, and the Vatican Museum. If the Vatican's not your thing, don't miss out on Castle St. Angelo, located right next door. Originally the Mausoleum of Hadrian, it has been converted into a papal residency and finally a modern museum. It is a perfect example of how Rome's history is layered like a lasagna. In antiquity, the Capitoline was the site of temples, legends, and for a time was the front door to the city. Today it is more of a Renaissance museum district, featuring this replica of Marcus Aurelius, the last emperor of the Pax Romana. Wedged between the Tiber River, Capitoline, and Palatine Hills is the often overlooked Aventine. With a wealth of architectural interest, including palaces, churches, and the Rome Rose Garden, you will not be bored in this centralized and relatively quiet haven. Staying within the Aventine is the massive Circus Maximus, the original chariot racing theater that could house over 150,000 people. There is some definite positive juju here, so much so that it is still a modern entertainment venue hosting concerts and events to this day. For more casual tourism, consider Piazza Navona and its three fountains. Originally the Stadium of Domitian, this plaza still maintains the rounded rectangular shape. Do your best to see it at night and perhaps have a nice carbonara at a nearby restaurant. If you're a glutton for punishment and love crowds of bucket listers, make your way to Trevi Fountain. Built on one of the oldest water sources in all of Rome, this 18th century fountain is worth a stop. Unfortunately, everyone else agrees. I wish I could say go early in the morning if you want a more positive experience, but I'd be lying. It is crowded all of the time. Toss a coin over your shoulder into the fountain, and you'll be guaranteed a return trip to Rome. It was the downtown of the classical age, though the current Roman Forum is just a shadow of its former glory. One can only imagine the grand lifestyle Romans of antiquity lived in. Continuing with our analogies, the Beverly Hills, or Manhattan of Roman times, was the Palatine Hill. Anyone who was anyone in Rome lived on this small hill in the center of the city. It may take you a full day to explore this entire area, but it is well worth it. When in Rome, go to the Colosseum, is what every visitor says always, all the time. In its heyday, the Colosseum could hold more than 50,000 spectators. All things being equal, the Colosseum is still a must-see. It is widely agreed that at least 400,000 people and over 1 million animals have been killed within these walls. And if the Circus Maximus had a good vibe, the Colosseum definitely has an eerie, unsettling one. We took a guided tour, but you may be better off with a good book, as the guides are looking to get you through as quick as possible. Hands down, my favorite site in all of Rome was the Pantheon. I can't quite pinpoint what it was, but it may be that it's just the most intact site from antiquity, thanks to the constant use since 126 AD. It remains the world's largest unsupported dome even to this day. And better yet, it's free. We stopped multiple times and focused our areas of interest on different locations, in and outside of the structure. Completed in 264 BC and still in use today is the Appian Way. Get out of the city walls and take an adventure through the Aqueducts Park. Biking is a must if you want to see as much as possible. Just a few miles from the city center, you can ride alongside the Aqua Claudia Aqueduct, and even see running water from the still in use Aqua Felix. This bike trip was the highlight of my trip and a great 40th birthday present for my wife. Rome is a truly amazing place, and if you have the means, I highly recommend staying for at least a few days. Thanks for joining us on 360 Highlights of Rome. We'll see you next time.